Let's get it! 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Monday. We are back from the weekend with 3 hours of sports talk coming your way this afternoon on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. My name is Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a little while. And we got 3 hours of sports talk for you today, plus a little overtime ahead of Royals baseball tonight. The Royals at Wrigley Field in Chicago for the Brendan Dworzinski Bowl, a 3-game series against Brendan's beloved Chicago Cubs. First pitch tonight, 7:05, meaning pregame coverage from the Royals Baseball Network starts at 6:30 here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So we will have some overtime for you in the 6 o'clock hour, but 3 hours of regulation 580 Sports Talk, if you will, and lots to get to from the weekend that was. We'll do some baseball. Royals dropped 2 out of 3 in Miami. Is it time to think about taking some phone calls if you're JJ Piccolo and not making some phone calls if you get my drift? We'll talk about that. And also the breaking news from earlier today that tomorrow night, we expect tomorrow night in Chicago, 45-year-old Rich Hill will take the mound for the Kansas City Royals. And he will be just the second player in Major League history to play for 14 different franchises. That's almost half the league. It's the Edwin Jackson Club, and he'll have a new friend in that club. It will be Rich Hill, the man they call Dick Mountain, is getting the call from the Royals. He will start on Tuesday against the Cubs. That is the expectation, anyhow. Royals still have to make a corresponding 40-man roster move. They probably won't make that until tomorrow, but it's happening. Rich Hill, 7 years older than me, will be the oldest player to ever suit up for the Royals, about 100 days older than Gaylord Perry was when he pitched for the Royals back in the 70s, or I guess back in the 80s. So plenty of baseball that we can talk about. We'll look back at the weekend that was, look ahead to tonight as the Royals open up that 3-game series against the Cubs, who are tied for the Central Division lead with the surging Brewers. But there's lots of football today, too, because training camp is open. The boys are back in town. And by the boys, I mean the Chiefs. And by in town, I mean St. Joe, Missouri. I don't know if there is a Dino's Bar and Grill in St. Joe's, Missouri. And I don't know if the boys are there dressed to kill or not. That's none of my concern. But training camp is underway. The Chiefs are back. And one of them is buying the first round at Dino's Bar and Grill because he's a lot richer after the weekend, and that is George Karlaftis, who agreed to a 4-year contract extension with the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll break down the deal. I love it. I love it for the player because I love when any player gets paid, but I really love this deal for the Chiefs as well. So we'll talk about George Karlaftis getting a 4-year contract extension that will keep him in a Chiefs uniform for the remainder of the 2020s and coincidentally, the remainder of George Karlaftis' 20s. We'll get there and also talk about what Andy Reid had to say when he met with the media last night, the first official media availability of training camp. Not really a workout day today, kind of a physical, take your physical, make sure everything checks out, get to know you. Maybe there's some karaoke. I don't know what goes on the day before the day, but tomorrow's the day. Everybody's in town. Everybody's raring to go. And so there's lots of football to discuss on the show today. And we're going to talk about it with our guest today, Matt Verderam, our NFL insider. He'll join us bottom of this hour. We'll get his thoughts on all the Chiefs news that has happened since we talked to Matt last. The Trey Smith contract, the Rashee Rice suspension. Well, not suspension, but the sentencing and likelihood of a suspension for 2025. And the Karlaftis deal. And we'll talk about some other things from around the league as well as training camps rev up this week. Matt Verderam from Sports Illustrated, from That Football Show, the KC Sports Network, from his own subscriber-only Patreon, the Matt Verderam Show, joining us at the bottom of this hour. And a bunch of other stuff we'll get to today. We'll continue our Chiefs countdown to kickoff. It is 46 days until the Chiefs open the 2025 season against the Chargers. And the Chiefs have a number 46, and he's going into his third year with the team. And I'll bet you none of you know who I'm talking about. Because, frankly, I was surprised to learn he was going into year 3 as a Kansas City Chief. But we'll talk about that. There's some K-State basketball recruiting news. CJ Jones is back with the team. That came out of nowhere as the Wildcats try to fill out their 2025-26 roster. CJ Jones, the transfer guard who entered the portal after the conclusion of last season, apparently didn't find anywhere that suited him better than Manhattan, Kansas. So he's back with the Wildcats in a fairly surprising turn of events. We'll get to that. Memphis tried to buy their way into the Big 12 conference, and the Big 12 wouldn't even hold a vote. They were so disinterested in adding the University of Memphis. That wild story reported earlier today. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo had it first. Brett McMurphy did some follow-up reporting. Doesn't look like it's happening, but we now know how much it's worth to Memphis to be in a Power 4 conference. And it's $200 million over 5 years. Wild, wild story. And amazing that the Big 12 was so disinterested, they couldn't even get their administrators from each school together for a vote. They're not even going to bother voting on it. They're a no on Memphis, even though Memphis was willing to subjugate themselves for a slice of the Power 4 pie. Big 12 is like, yeah, nah, man. Enjoy the American. Hey, you guys rebranded today. You're just the American Conference now. You guys have fun with that and your little Eagle mascot. You guys go hang out. Go play in the little kids' corner. So that's a wild story that we're going to talk about. Plus, everything else you've come to know and love from a Monday edition of the show. We got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Lots to get to in headlines today, including a quick trip to the winner's circle. We will have a new round of What Is Wrong With You for the week beginning today. Good, bad, ugly from the weekend. And, of course, your interaction with the show. Perhaps my favorite part. So we want to hear from you on 580 Sports Talk today. Get at us on the text line, 785-272-9429. You can also interact if you're in the YouTube live chat. If you're watching the show today on YouTube, the name of the channel, 580 Sports Talk. If you've never watched the show on YouTube today's a great day to do it. It's wet outside. It was raining all morning in the capital city. Stay inside. Fire up YouTube on your phone or your tablet or youtube.com and go search for 580 Sports Talk. You can find the video stream. You can interact with your fellow listeners and your host as you go along in the YouTube chat, in the chat window, either on your mobile device or the web browser. And subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. We're adding basically a subscriber a day here over the last couple of weeks. Who's today's hero? I know there's one of you out there that's going to keep the streak alive. Who is today's hero? Who are today's heroes, plural, that will subscribe to the YouTube channel? I know you're out there. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. It's great to see some regulars in the chat today. Good afternoon to Vance and Mark H. Ryan is in. Andrew is in. Coach Gonzo, he's in. Happy to have all of you in the chat. Looking forward to hearing from more of you throughout the day in the chat or again on the text line 785-272-9429. Bit of a strange one today because the Royals baseball game happened yesterday, but for the first time since, April? Well, I mean, there have been times, give or take, maybe a big story like the draft, the Trey Smith contract, that this isn't the case, that we don't lead with Kansas City Royals baseball. But it's still a little strange when you have that handoff, especially for somebody like me who loves baseball. And the Royals are certainly not buried in the American League playoff race, although their odds are dwindling and they are worse off in the wild card chase than they were when the weekend began, which is not ideal either way, but they're not buried. They're not eliminated or even functionally eliminated, which kind of had been the case for the handful of years prior to last. But I love talking baseball. I like talking baseball with all of you. I know many of you enjoy the baseball talk on the show, so it's always a little bit of a hard pivot when training camp opens and we shift from the Royals leading the show And hopefully down the line, they lead the show some more because they win a bunch of games and get hot and go to the playoffs again. Rooting for it. But training camp is open. And our attention naturally diverts to the 3-time defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. And boy, did they open the weekend with a bang with the announcement yesterday of a contract extension for George Karlaftis. I was doing dishes. I think I was emptying the dishwasher when I got the text alert on my phone from ESPN. Adam Schefter had the details. George Karlaftis' contract has been extended 4 years, which means that this year is not part of the contract extension, 2025, but next year is, because as a rookie, the 5th year was always an option year, right? So the Chiefs are basically buying out the option year, 26. And 27, 28, 29 are the new years. So it's 4 years of new money and $88 million in new money. That's simple math. $22 million a year for Furious George, $62 million guaranteed, $32 million guaranteed at signing. Like I said, wherever the spot is in St. Joe, first round is on George tonight. It's $2 million a year more than Greg Rousseau of the Bills, who was drafted the same year and is essentially the same age and got the same length of extension from the Bills this offseason. When we talked about what a Karlaftis extension would look like, probably did this a little bit ago, probably when it was his day on the Chiefs Countdown to Kickoff, mentioned that he was probably going to come in north of what Rousseau made per year because he's been more productive. He's been a better player than Greg Rousseau. He has a double-digit sack season. Rousseau doesn't have one of those. Also, the player's youth plays a role. The fact that he is younger, George Karlaftis, today, he is younger than, I think it's 24 or 25 members of this year's draft class. A handful of guys, 24, 25 guys. I forget the exact number, and I'm not looking at it, but there's a handful of guys from this past April's draft class who are older than George Karlaftis, who already has 3 NFL seasons and, again, a double-digit sack season in the NFL in the books. So I thought he'd get more than Rousseau. I wasn't sure he was going to get more than Rashawn Gary did per year when Gary signed a couple of years ago with Green Bay, and it ended up falling right in the middle. $22 million, right in between Rousseau's $20 million a year and Gary's $24 million a year. I kind of think that this was always in place because, remember, Brett Veach was really clear. When they put the franchise tag on Trey Smith coming out of the draft, Brett Veach was very clear. Priority number 1 for the Chiefs offseason was Trey Smith. Get Trey Smith's deal done. And then they could worry about everything else. Then they could think about, and specifically mentioned, were contract extensions for their first-round picks in 2022, George Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie. So it ends up taking the Smith deal a really long time to get done, obviously. Just 3 hours before the deadline, it gets done on Tuesday. But I think that Rousseau extension from earlier this offseason put the framework in place for what it was going to look like to extend Karlaftis. And if I had to guess, and maybe this is too conspiratorially minded, but I really believe this to be true, I think this deal was functionally done and they held it until the Trey Smith deal got done. I think they said, look, it looks bad if we say one thing and then we do another. We'll get this done. This is on the table. This is going to happen for you. Just hold tight and we'll revisit it after the Trey Smith deal is done. I don't think there was a lot of haggling done between Tuesday and Saturday or Sunday. I think it was a lot of I dotting and T crossing that had to get done from there. But it couldn't get done before the Trey Smith extension because Brett Veach said, we're doing the Smith extension first and then we'll do everything else. I believe that. I believe that that's how that all worked. But anyhow, George Karlaftis is in the fold. He's in the fold through the rest of the 2020s. The extension carries him, again, through the 5th-year extension year of 2026, then 7, 8, and 9. Those are your 4 years. 2029 will be the expiration of his contract. He'll hit unrestricted free agency in 2030. when he will be 30. And that's why I really love this deal for the Chiefs. Number one, I think the money is right. I think the money is fair. I think this is fair market value for a pass rusher of George Karlaftis' quality, capability, and past production. Anytime you pay a player, you are in large part, you're paying for what they've already done, right? You're not so much paying for what they're going to do as you're paying for what they've already done. With a young player, you have the bonus of being able to keep a player like Karlaftis through his prime years, so you are paying for what you think he will do. But every free agent contract or contract extension is, in some form or fashion, payment for what has already been accomplished, what's already on the stat sheet for George Karlaftis. And that's fine. That's how this works. So I think it is fair value all the way around for George Karlaftis. And I like that it covers through his 20s. The Chiefs will get all of George Karlaftis' best football. Now, this is not me saying that there is zero chance that George Karlaftis is going to be the kind of player who gets a third contract or a sizable third contract. That might be with the Chiefs. That might be with somebody else. I don't know. But what I'm telling you is, when I watch George Karlaftis and I watch a player whose carrying trait as a pass rusher is motor. It's not explosion. It's not strength. It's not pure athleticism. It's the inability to ever give up on a play. It's relentlessness. It's desire. It's effort. That's the best thing that George Karlaftis does as a pass rusher. And for me, I have concerns about how well that skill set is going to age. Now, again, I am not ruling out that a 24-year-old pass rusher like Karlaftis can't add to his game, get a little quicker. It did seem toward the end of last year. Jesse Newell wrote about this for the Kansas City Star towards the end of last regular season. I was revisiting this in the process of learning up on Karlaftis' deal. Karlaftis is, they call it get off, right? Like how quickly you get off the line of scrimmage. It actually started to increase towards the end of last year. And again, that's towards the end of a season in which he was playing all the games. You would think, okay, you know, you're losing a split second or two on that because you played so much football, because it's colder, it's December. His times were actually increasing. He was getting better at getting off the line of scrimmage faster. If that's a trend that continues, then he can certainly be more productive moving forward, have more of those double-digit sack seasons. We talked about how many pressures he had last year, turning some of those pressures, more of those pressures, into sacks, into raw production, into the kind of plays that short-circuit drives, flip fields, all that good stuff. And maybe there is another level for Karlaftis as a player to reach. And I think that's part of the bet you make if you're the Chiefs, is this is one of the youngest guys at his position to have as much experience as he has in the entire NFL. He was a young guy when he came into the league. Teams across the league value this, the Chiefs in particular. I think it's why Felix Anudike-Uzomah was so intriguing to them in the very next draft. One of the reasons was because he was so young relative to his draft class. And so there's more room to grow, theoretically, as opposed to when you draft a 24, 25-year-old, you might be getting a finished product, but you're not getting somebody with upside, as much upside. We're seeing some of Karlaftis' upside potential realized, and maybe there's more to come. But even if there isn't, what they've got is a productive guy, an excellent teammate. Everybody seems to love him. And they have him now through the years in which he will be the best version of himself. It's a good bit of business by Brett Veach and the Chiefs. George Karlaftis gets a bag, which is always worth celebrating. And now you are starting to see the next core of the Chiefs take shape. The core group of what the Chiefs will hope will be another string of AFC Championship game appearances and Super Bowl appearances and Super Bowl wins as Mahomes turns the corner into his 30s. Mahomes is obviously in it for the long haul. Two members, the two best members of his offensive line, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, are locked in for the long haul. And now George Karlaftis is on a long-term deal. Trent McDuffie's going to be next. I don't know if that gets done before the start of the preseason or before week one, but if $30.2 million a year gets it done, I would go ahead and start getting the details on paper if I were Brett Veach. Because Derek Stingley got 30, and then the next guy to get paid got $0.1 million per year more. That's Sauce Gardner. So now Trent McDuffie, who like those two has been an all-pro, should get $0.1 million more, or maybe the same. Maybe the value that Veach has is right at that $30.1 million. Maybe he doesn't escalate it, but I'm not going to let $100,000 a year stand in the way of making sure that I have Trent McDuffie for the long term. But he's going to be the next guy, one way or another, whether it's this year or whether it's one of the first things that gets done next offseason. Trent McDuffie's going to be part of the core too, which raises an interesting question. Who's going to be the next core chief to get paid? Because with the salary cap going up, especially, you can afford to have more than just 5 core guys. And other than quarterback, the Chiefs aren't paying a premium price at a premium position yet until they get the McDuffie deal done. That might give them the opportunity to say, Rashee Rice, let's do a 4-year extension for Rashee Rice next offseason or the offseason after that. Not the offseason after that. Xavier Worthy might be a guy that you buy out his 5th-year extension and do something similar a couple of years down the road. Maybe you can turn a receiver into a core piece, much like Travis Kelce has been a core piece of this Chiefs team. Because like right now, Kelce and Chris Jones are paid like core pieces, but eventually they're going to age out, right? They're not going to be, by the time Karlaftis' deal is done in 2029, certainly you'd expect Travis Kelce to be done playing football, and you would also not expect Chris Jones to be the Chris Jones at the very least, and maybe he's done too by the time it's 2029. So this is the next core group. It's Mahomes, it's Creed, it's Trey Smith, it's Furious George, it's Trent McDuffie, and then who? That's where it gets interesting. I think you can do something with Rashee Rice should he come back effectively from injury. But that'll be the big question for next offseason for Brett Veach. We'll take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. Really great to have all of you aboard today. Looking forward to talking more football as we go along. Matt Verderam's going to join us in about 10 minutes here. We'll get to what Andy Reid had to say from Chiefs camp yesterday. We're going to talk some Royals baseball. We got What Is Wrong With You? We got Good, Bad, Ugly coming up next. It's a jam-packed show, and we're really glad you're along here on 580 WIBW. It's good, the bad, and the ugly from the weekend that was. Spencer Dupuis, what was your good?
I would say just like it was a relaxing weekend with the girlfriend at home. Like we didn't really do much. And I made some really good cheeseburger sliders last night.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, just over the oven or what?
Yeah, so I've been seeing like this thing where you just put them in a 9x12 or whatever.
Sure.
You cook it for like 15 minutes with whatever you want, and then you put them on the buns. The Hawaiian rolls. Good. You got to use those. You can't use like the cheap ones. And then you put some garlic butter on top of it, put them back in for like another 10 to 15. They were so good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. My good from the weekend. I thought Royal Portrush was a really cool open venue to watch the Open Championship from. Very, very striking visuals. Some very cool holes. It was not the most dramatic golf tournament I've ever seen, but I really like watching Scotty Scheffler win, and I like watching him celebrate with his boy Bennett, because Bennett's about 1 month older than my son.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see him interact with his son, who's about the same age as my own. Very, very cool stuff. Enjoy Scotty a lot, and enjoyed watching him win the Open. How about your bad?
I will leave my bad at just the Washington Nationals. Like watching them play.
They're pretty bad.
They're pretty bad.
They're pretty bad. My bad for the weekend. Speaking of my son, I just have 2 words that explain it all. Sleep regression. That's all that needs to be said there. How about an ugly? Did you have an ugly, Spencer?
Yes, I did. I have realized this now over the past few, I guess, month now. Yesterday, do you know what yesterday was? National Ice Cream Day.
Yes.
So girlfriend and I went out to Sheridan's. Great place. Love that place. But I've come to realize I don't think I can eat ice cream anymore.
Uh-oh.
It just doesn't stick with me well.
Now, some things are worth it. That's all I'll say.
But it's weird because I'm fine eating or drinking milk and eating cheese. So I don't know. The past like 5 times I've had ice cream, I've had problems.
That's tough. I'm sorry to hear that. My ugly, that pitch Carlos Estevez threw to Kyle Stowers in the 10th on Friday night. That was a brutal loss, and it set the stage for a really disappointing weekend of Royals baseball to lose 2 out of 3 to that sorry Marlins club. If you were watching the game live on TV like I was at the time, you heard Rex Hudler talking about the at-bat as Stowers was coming to the plate. Now, keep in mind, Stowers had already homered. He'd hit 3 home runs in his last game before the All-Star break. So he's on a little bit of a heater. He was in the swing-off at the All-Star game. A good player, really good hitter. And Rex Hudler said, well, the scouting report on Kyle Stowers is a real simple one. You want to keep the ball down. And right after he said that, Estevez located a fastball at the knees, and Stowers foul-tipped it into the mid of the catcher for a strike. And then the next pitch was a fastball, but it was not at the knees. It was not down. It was up. And then it was up and up and up and gone. So that's what happens when you miss your spots against a power hitter. But that was a brutal way, certainly, to open the weekend and set the table kind of in a negative fashion for the Royals weekend. And they're in worse shape than they were when they started the weekend. They're 5.5 out and beneath a couple of other teams now in the wild card hunt. They did not lose 2 out of 3 to the Rockies, which the Twins did. So they didn't have the worst weekend of anybody sniffing around the wild card hunt. But getting harder and harder to see a path through to another blue October for the Kansas City Royals. But we'll get into that in the 4 o'clock hour. What we're going to do now is take a quick timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk to Matt Verderam. He's our NFL insider from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. We're going to ask him about all of the Chiefs maneuverings they've done in the week since we've gotten to talk to Matt last, including the George Karlaftis extension. And we'll get his other thoughts on the rest of the league as training camps get underway. That's all coming up. Stay with us on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. We'll be joined momentarily by Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Looking forward to speaking with our NFL insider. We do it every week at this time on 580 Sports Talk. Matt covers the league for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also, the Matt Verderam Show, which is his own subscriber-only Patreon that you can subscribe to, get some more great insider info from Matt, plus that football show on the KC Sports Network, where he and Tucker Franklin talk about football and a whole lot more. Matt Verderam is our NFL insider on the program. We are out to him right now. Obviously, plenty to talk about. Been a busy last week for the Kansas City Chiefs, including the signing of the George Karlaftis extension. I want to make it clear, if I misspoke in the opening segment, that Karlaftis' deal, I guess if I got tongue-tied, I was half right and half wrong. Karlaftis' deal does cover the rest of his 20s as a person. Like he will hit free agency when he is 30. However, that will be after 2030. So he is with the team through the 2030 season, and he will be a free agent in 2031. Very real chance that I just got a little dyslexic at the wrong spot on the SpoTrack page. But what I meant to say was that the contract carried him through the 2020s and his 20s. But if I was unclear or misspoke, those are the details. That it is a 4-year extension on top of the 5-year, the 5th-year option, which will stay in place, his 5th-year option for being a first-round pick in 2026. And then the deal will stay in place for the next 4 years, 2027 through 2030. It'll be at that stage where he's making your 20 million or 22 million a year. And how that compares among edge rushers, it fits. And it's not quite. Spotrac has a bunch of numbers listed here, and like Leonard Williams is listed as the defensive end, and like not really. Leonard Williams for the Seahawks, he's more of a supersized defensive end in a 4-3. So he's a defensive end, but not in the same way that George Karlaftis is a defensive end. But he's making $21.5 million. Trey Hendrickson is making $21 million a year. I'm trying to find who it was in the YouTube comments. It was Andrew here talking about the Karlaftis signing, noting that the Chiefs want to get a deal done with Karlaftis for the Micah Parsons and Hendrickson deals. I don't think what Myles Garrett already signed this offseason. He got $40 million a year. When Parsons gets himself paid, he's going to make probably about that, maybe more. He'll deserve more. TJ Watt just got $41 million a year. And Parsons will get something substantial. Trey Hendrickson's coming off a year where he could have won Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to get in that Max Crosby, Myles Garrett range. He's going to get upwards of $35 million a year. If I had to guess, even though he's a little older, I think he could still get in that $35-40 million a year range, maybe more than Crosby, less than Garrett. I don't think there was ever a scenario where George Karlaftis was going to get that kind of money. So I don't know. That might be one of those what they eat don't make me you know what kind of deals as it pertains to Parsons and Hendrickson. What they did want to do, I think, was get the Karlaftis deal done so that they could then start working on the McDuffie deal and figure out where they could come down on McDuffie's money and how then that would manipulate the cap. But here, joining us to talk all about it on the Flaming Place Wine Spirits Hotline is Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. And Matt, we're just talking about the George Karlaftis deal. Your thoughts? 4-year extension, $22 million a year, $62 million guaranteed. I like the value. I like that the Chiefs have him through his 20s. What's your take on the Karlaftis signing?
Yeah, look, honestly, I think for the Chiefs, you got to be pretty happy with it. You know, when you look at the DN market, Greg Rousseau got $480 earlier this year. He got it, I think, right around the start of the league year in March. Well, he got $480, and I think he got $54 million guaranteed. Well, Karlaftis is a better version of Rousseau. He's not much better. He's not light years, but he's a better player. And so if you're the Chiefs, I think they looked at that contract and went, okay, well, if he's going to get 20, then that's about what we're going to put Karlaftis at. I said a week ago on a spot I thought he was going to get $490 if he got signed. Well, I mean, it's pretty much the exact value. I think it was right where it should have been. And I think if you're Karlaftis, listen, you're locking in generational wealth. You know you're going to be on the team for a minimum another 4 years or so. And you're getting paid well for it. So, yeah, I think if you're Kansas City, that deal is a pretty smart deal to go ahead and sign.
Obviously not the only contract extension the Chiefs have agreed to in the last week before the start of training camp. Trey Smith got his money last week, right at the deadline. The Chiefs had to work out a deal with him before he would have had to play on the franchise tag in 2025. Were you surprised it ended up at $23.5 million a year, that Trey Smith didn't just nudge past Landon Dickerson? He blew past Landon Dickerson as the highest paid guard in the league.
Well, leverage is a wonderful thing when you have it, and I think that's where Trey Smith was. I'm not surprised. I thought he'd get around 23, 24 million a year. I thought it might have even been higher, honestly, because when you looked at it, once he got tagged, agents will tell you, hey, look, what is the first tag? What is the potential of the second tag? That would have been about 2 and 51 for Smith. So the Chiefs actually came in below that number. Now, they came below that number because they gave him $7 million guaranteed, and so you're going to get wiggle room there. But I think in the end, look, Smith has the leverage of saying, well, I could just not sign this tag and I'll hit free agency next year, or you've got to tag me again. And so then you have that push-pull. I mean, there's no risk in that, of course, for him as well. But in the end, look, he took a little less than he probably would have gotten out on the market, because I think he would have gotten 25. To have that security to stay in Kansas City. The Chiefs, they pay him and they get it done, and they give him a little bit more than to your point, than Dickerson got. He got, well beyond that, $2.5 million beyond that. I think, again, though, in the end, if you're the Chiefs, like, how did their season end last year? They couldn't block. Well, now you have him. You have Humphrey. You have drafted a left tackle that, if he's good, you have long-term moving forward. We'll see what Suamati is at left guard. Like, you all of a sudden have a lot of pieces, not just now, but going forward. And so I think the Chiefs, it meant a lot to them to get that deal done, to know that Trey's locked in the long term.
So Trey Smith is locked in, and George Karlaftis is locked in, and Trent McDuffie would appear to be the next priority for Brett Veach in the Chiefs front office. We saw Derek Stingley get $30 million a year. We saw Sauce Gardner one up that at $30.1 million a year. Do you think that's the framework for Trent McDuffie? And is there a possibility that that gets done before the end of training camp or before the start of week 1 for the Chiefs?
It's possible. Listen, I don't think the Chiefs are in a massive rush, because when you look around the league, who's the next guy who's going to reset the market corner? It's probably McDuffie. Like, I don't know who the other guy is who's going to sign between now and then. Everybody else is signed. Like, they're a little bit late to the party anyway here. But you know what? Look, realistically, I actually thought the Karlaftis deal would be harder than the McDuffie deal, because Karlaftis isn't going to reset the market. So you're kind of trying to find the right value and where do you slot in. This McDuffie deal, to me, is a lot like the Trey Smith deal. He's going to set the market. Like, it's not like this is some big state secret that, like, he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid. Like, they're going, if they signed him today, he's coming in at $31 million a year. That's it. He's resetting everything. Highest paid, guaranteed money, all of it. You could make an argument that if he's not the best corner in football, he's right at the top, he's the most valuable. You can play him inside. You can play him outside. He's great against the run. He can blitz. He's a tremendous teammate. He's durable. Like, the guy's getting paid. Like, they're not going to sit there and shave off money. So, look, I really think if you're a Chiefs fan, that's one I wouldn't sweat too much. I would be shocked if they don't sign him. Now, whether it's this summer, next summer, whatever, who knows? But I would be shocked if he doesn't get a big second contract. I've had a few people ask me, and I've said this to them. In Brett Veach's tenure, who is the homegrown player that they did not give a second contract to that you really wanted them to? I bet you would have a hard time finding that guy.
We're joined by Matt Verderam here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And Matt, last week, Terry McLaurin took things public, and he kind of expressed his frustration with the way that he was not getting any contract extension talks done with the Commanders. What do you think? Do you think there's something that happens here before training camp, or do you think he's going to hold in or hold out?
I think it'll get done here, relatively speaking. Look, a lot of times these things, you go back and forth, and then all of a sudden there's a little bit of a deadline to spur some action. And I think that's probably the case here. When you're talking about a player of that caliber, like at some point here, they've got to get paid. There's got to be movement, right? I mean, either you're going to pay him, somebody else is going to pay him, you got to trade him. Like I would expect here that there is going to be a deal done, an adjustment made. When you're talking about players who are a game changing type of player, at some point you've got to make the payment, and I think that is looming here in the fairly near future.
And I know he's old, but the Commanders get Von Miller. How do you think he can help their edge rush unit after last season? I mean, he seemed to be pretty good in the small amount of time that he played for the Bills last year.
Yeah, I mean, look, with Miller, you're hoping to get lightning in a bottle, right? I mean, you're hoping to get 1 year where he can give you 8 sacks, so you can go out there and use him on third down, use him in late game situations. He had moments with the Bills last year. I think the Bills are hoping for a little bit more than they were going to get. And that's part and parcel of the fact that he was 6 and 120. So you're going to try to get more out of him. I think if you're the Commanders right now, to your question about like McLaurin, I think, he's going to be 30 years old, but you're willing to pay him because there's a lot of evidence that he's going to be still a top 10 player at that position. Like, I would give him 3 years and 100, feel all right about it. Whereas, and I think, by the way, I think they will here. I think they'll eventually take care of him. Whereas with Miller, you're looking at a guy in his mid-30s. He's had injuries. He's had flashes lately, but he's also starting to slow down. Like, you're hoping to get one solid year out of him where he just gives you a little bit of juice in those certain situations.
Our guest is Matt Verderam from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also, That Football Show on the KC Sports Network and the subscriber-only Patreon, The Matt Verderam Show. He is our NFL insider, joining us on the Floating Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. The team president of the Cincinnati Bengals, Mike Brown, took a bit of a run at the team's first-round pick, Shamar Stewart, who remains unsigned over some disputing of the language in the rookie contract, referring to it, quote, a form of foolishness, end quote. Does that feel like the kind of thing that maybe lingers pretty deep into the offseason? I know we've talked a lot about leverage here, and obviously, eventually, at some point, the player's going to want to play, but how long is this going to linger and hang over the Bengals' heads while they're still trying to get something done with their other projected starter at edge rusher, Trey Hendrickson?
Yeah, I mean, you can hear the frustration, right? I mean, you can hear it in Mike Brown. You can hear it in Duke Oben, the GM there when he talked. I will say this, like, the Bengals deserve criticism in the sense that this is a ridiculous thing not to have done. I mean, this has gotten to a point. I understand posture, maybe like first OTA or something. We're to a point now. I mean, we're coming up on August. I mean, you got to get the guy in there. You got to figure this out. That being said, I will agree with the Bengals on one point. This is ridiculous that Shamar Stewart is taking it, and really not even him, it's really his agent, that is taking it to this level over language that really is to protect the Bengals. And if Shamar Stewart does something absolutely ridiculous and gets himself essentially thrown off the team, that the Bengals wouldn't have to pay him. I mean, that's what they're fighting over. That's the language in the contract. And look, the Bengals precedent, and that's why they're being expected to pay it. I get all that. But really, at this point, it's on both sides. The Bengals should just work with them a little bit here, massage the language, and figure it out. And on the flip side, if I'm Shamar Stewart, I'm talking to my agents going, what are we doing? What are we doing? I look ridiculous. This entire thing is ridiculous. I'm already losing support from fans. I got to get in there. I've got to learn this entire playbook. I'm starting day one. I mean, so this has been poorly handled by the player and his representation, poorly handled by the team. And yet, listen, and the Bengals, to your point, already have Hendrickson holding out, which that's completely on the pay. The Bengals pay him, and it's not going to pay him to trade him. And that's a typical thing with Cincinnati. It's gone on for years, where they will just sit there and dig their heels in, and like, yeah, all right, you have the right to do it, but it doesn't help you. It's not helping anybody. And in the end, look, I think they're going to adjust and pay him, even if it's just extra money this year. But yeah, I mean, the Bengals this offseason, it's not exactly been an A+.
Matt, you did a really interesting project over at SI.com where you ranked the quarterbacks, not for the preseason in 2025, but how you think we'll be talking about them at the end of 2025. And one quarterback that made it into your top 10 that I'm sure raised a lot of eyebrows and got you a lot of interesting comments on social and elsewhere. You believe that J.J. McCarthy has that kind of ability to elevate into the realm of a top 10 quarterback in the league as a first-year starter. Why are you so high on J.J. McCarthy?
Because I think with quarterbacks more than anything else, other than obviously just talent, it's about your situation. Where do you go? Who are you surrounded by? Like, I've been asked the question probably 100 times. Do you think Mahomes would have been this great if he'd gone somewhere else? And the answer is I think he would have been a great player, but he probably wouldn't have been this. He walked into the perfect situation, the perfect time. And that's not a knock on him. It's just, hey, look, he was a great player who got put into the perfect spot. I think McCarthy is a kid who I think has a lot of talent. May not be Mahomesian, but has a lot of talent. He's in a perfect spot. He's got a great quarterback coach, Kevin O'Connell. He's got weapons all over the place. Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, a backfield with Jones and with Mason. He's got a good offensive line. He's got a defense that's very aggressive, that should turn the ball over, take the ball away, give him some good field position. And, I saw him in training camp last year. Listen, that kid makes every throw. Every throw. So when I look at McCarthy, I think he's going to have a similar impact on Minnesota the way that Daniels did in Washington. I think Daniels is more of an athletic freak, and Daniels too is super underrated in terms of his football IQ. He's brilliant in the pocket. I don't think McCarthy is going to have the ceiling that Daniels has, but I think he's going to be very good right away as Daniels was. And so I get it. It's a risk, right? I mean, people could definitely look back at that piece in 6 months and go, what a dope. But it wouldn't be the first time I'm called that. I'll take my chances. I think McCarthy's going to be very good in Minnesota.
Go read that over at SI.com. Read all of Matt Verderam's stuff at Sports Illustrated and SI.com. He's our NFL insider, and he joins us every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, always enjoy the time. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
That is Matt Verderam. We'll take a break, come back, wrap up this hour, 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to Matt Verderam for joining us, as he does every Monday on the program. It is 46 days until Chiefs kickoff, and number 46 for the Kansas City Chiefs is Darius Rush.
Who?
Darius Rush. He's entering his third season with the Chiefs. He was on their practice squad last year after he got cut by the Steelers after the Chiefs cut him in September. They signed him in 2023 after the Colts cut him when he was a fifth-round pick. So he spent 23, part of 24, and now enters 25 as a member of the Chiefs and has played all of 0 career games with the Chiefs, though he has gotten in 6 games with the Steelers. More Chiefs plus some Royals coming up next hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Monday afternoon here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube stream. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. However, you are joining us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, whether you're listening or watching, whether you're live or you're catching up, via our podcast page, via Spotify, 580 Sports Talk, via our YouTube archive. We appreciate you being part of the audience. We thank you so much for taking the time to hang out here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you. We got 2 more hours today, then a little overtime as we get you set for Royals baseball. Royals and the Cubs. We can talk about this. Our pal, Brendan Dworzinski, who is off today, and our pal, Trenton Craxner.
Are we going where I think I'm going? Where we're going?
Yeah, probably. Okay. We probably are. Trenton Craxner, former intern, now writer for Royals Review. The two of them have a friendly little wager on the outcome of this Cubs-Royals series. And whichever team wins the series, the loser has to eat at a fast food restaurant that they are less than enamored with. I will leave the names out of it to protect the innocent and potential future sponsors of 580 Sports Talk, but suffice it to say, there was a rather vicious argument about fast food hamburgers taking place in the group chat yesterday afternoon, and I just want to bring peace to the people, because you know what a good hamburger is good eating, and whether that hamburger comes from Culver's or Freddy's, McDonald's, Burger King, or a local spot like Bobo's or the Pad or the Prize Package, a burger and a cold pop, good eating. Good eating.
I don't know about that. There's certain ones that are better than others.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't begrudge anyone for like ranking one above the other. If you've got your fast food burger rankings, that's just fine. But I'm going to tell you this. I've only ever had one bad fast food burger. Once again, I will change the names to protect the innocent, but this particular drive-through place is very popular in the broader Midwest, and I don't think the burgers are very good. But that's me. That's me talking.
Is it something? Well, I don't know.
Nope. I'll tell you off the air.
Okay.
I'll tell you off the air. But,
well, I agree with Trenton's take. Like, I'm not a friend or fan. It's like tiering. If you tier it, to me, it's the third tier of the big three.
And that's fine. That's fine. Difference of opinion is what makes America great. But I just am a big believer that if we're gonna talk down about the fast food hamburger, listen, good eating. That's all I got to say. Good eating. Andrew says he'd rather have your sliders, Spencer. So
hey,
you got that going for you.
They're leftovers for tonight.
You know,
on the menu again.
It's funny. My wife and I, we had burgers last night too. We did. So we order from. It's called Every Plate. It's like what's the other thing? The meals, you get them fresh.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so we do Every Plate.
Yeah.
We get 3 meals a week sent to our house, all the ingredients. It's real convenient. It's takes about 30-40 minutes to get it all put together. I come home and I throw it together while Abby's feeding our baby.
It surely helps.
Our toddler. He's not a baby anymore, brother. He's running.
I bet it surely helps when you have a 1-year-old.
It does. So we do the Every Plate, and one of the things we like that Every Plate does is the smash burgers. So we did smash burgers last night with a little chipotle aioli, some caramelized onions, which didn't turn out great. I don't know what I did to mess up the caramelized onions. Maybe I just didn't have enough of them because my wife doesn't love onions. So I didn't cook as many onions as I usually do. Maybe you got to get more in there so they don't, and they get a little more caramel. I don't know.
Well, do you cook them off to the side, or do you cook them on top of and smash them down?
Oh no, I could do the onions and then I do the burgers.
Apparently, it's good for smash burgers if you cook them with the smash burger.
Well, I don't know if you can caramelize the onion on the burger.
I don't know.
Maybe you caramelize and then you can do them with the burger. I don't know. I'd have to look.
I've seen it done where they cook them, they caramelize them prior, and then as they're smashing the patty, they put the caramelized onion on top of the smashed patty as it's cooking.
Let me put everybody on game how to season your burger properly. There's a seasoning blend in with the spices at your local grocery store. It's Kinder's The Blend.
See, I have the burger blend.
Oh, interesting.
The Kinder's Burger Blend.
Okay.
But we do also have the blend because it's salt, pepper, garlic.
Yeah, exactly. And it's real simple. It's nothing fancy. It's like one of those things where like you go to a burger place that you've never been to, and they say, "Oh yeah, and we got the special sauce." It's called like the sauce or something like that, and it's just like mayo and ketchup
or Thousand Island dressing.
Yeah, and that's all it is. But it still tastes good. Like, they build it up and it tastes good. So yeah, the Kinder Blend. That's my secret to a good taste hamburger. So we both made burgers last night. How funny is that? Anyway, this has been 580 Burger Talk. Coming up later on this hour and on the show, we'll preview tonight's opener between the Cubs and the Royals. 7:05 first pitch, 6:30 pregame. The Kraxner-Dworzinski Bowl, if you will. Noah Cameron on the mound for the Royals tonight. Be a bullpen day for the Cubs. Ryan Brazier will get the ball first. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Also, more from Chiefs training camp. Andy Reid spoke yesterday. A couple of notable players on the PUP list, what that means for the Chiefs. Also, some great remarks, I thought, from Andy Reid regarding George Karlaftis in the wake of his contract extension. Plus, the jam-packed headlines. That's all coming up still on the show. We want to hear from you as we go along. Send us a text, 785-272-9429. Rank the burger places on the text thread if you want. We can revisit that. 785-272-9429. You can also jump in the chat if you are watching on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk, the name of the YouTube channel. Great to see so many of you in there today. Some of y'all were talking about food earlier. You were there was a very detailed lasagna, mac and cheese, meatloaf conversation going on.
Interesting.
Which, listen, just because I didn't participate doesn't mean I was not watching with interest. So, yes, interact, talk amongst yourself, but also interact with your host in the chat on our YouTube stream. Again, the name of the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Royals were winners yesterday. It was 8 innings of fun, and then Andrew Hoffman took a dump on the mound in the 9th. I don't know that he is long for the major leagues. In fact, he may not be long for the 40-man roster. The Royals needing to make a move. More about that in a second. But a comfortable 7-0 score turned into the tying run coming to the plate against Carlos Estevez in the 9th inning. Thankfully, Estevez able to record the final out for his 26th save, preserving the win for Chris Bubich, who went 5 shutout innings, and the Royals win the ball game 7-0. Jack Caglione, a big 2-run double, part of a 3-run fourth. Salvador Perez hit his 15th home run in the 8th inning for a little added insurance. Fun day out at the ballpark against probably the best pitcher the Marlins threw all week, which, if that ain't baseball for you, because the Royals couldn't do anything against Cal Quantrill the day before. It was a series that, for the want of a better performance from Estevez on Friday and for the want of some kind of offense on Saturday, could very well have been a Royals sweep, but instead it ends up a Royals series loss. And the Royals are a game further away from 500 than they were when they started the weekend, 48-52 overall. They're 5.5 back in the wild card hunt, trailing both Seattle and Boston by that margin, with Tampa Bay a game and a half back, Texas 3.5 back, the Angels 4 back, Cleveland 4.5 back, and Minnesota, who lost 2 out of 3 to Colorado over the weekend. That was Colorado's first home series win of the season, by the way. It had not won a series at Coors Field all year. It is July. It is late July. It is after the All-Star game. So that's how things are going there. But Minnesota's 5 back, and then you have the Royals. According to Baseball Reference, the Royals' playoff odds entering today are 3.0%. A 3% chance to make the playoffs. Fangraphs and their playoff odds are a little kinder. Their odds are 8.2% over at Fangraphs of making the Major League Baseball postseason. I want to talk about the concept of what I call championship equity, or I guess in this case, it's more appropriate to say contender equity. And the example I'll use for this is the Royals of 2016 and 2017. Now, the Royals of 2016 and 2017, you'll recall, following consecutive American League championships, did not make the playoffs. Royals were at even 500 in 2016, 81-81. They finished 80-82 in 2017. Well out of the money. They were playing out the string by the final week of the regular season in both of those years. But those teams floated around the 500 mark around this time of year, and because it was the same core of players that had gotten to and then won a World Series, because it was still the same recognizable faces: Hosmer, Moustakas, Kane, Escobar, the core four, if you will, in that lineup. Gordon, obviously, Salvi, guys like that. You still had all those guys. You could squint and you could believe, as the second half approached, as the trade deadline approached, that this was a team capable of making a run because they'd done it before. They had championship equity, so you could believe in their ability to go and do the job and make a push. And that ended up not happening, but you could sell yourself and you could believe in the idea. And that's how it came to be that the Royals finished the 2017 season with Eric Hosmer and Lorenzo Cain still on the roster, instead of trading those guys to try and bolster their farm system. It was a lost opportunity for certain. Cain got $80 million from the Brewers. Surely could have fetched a nice prospect haul. Hosmer got way more than that from the Padres. Surely he could have fetched a nice prospect haul at the time. Moustakas ended up fetching a nice haul the year after in 2018, but maybe could have gotten more while he was in the middle of, at the time, breaking the Royals' single-season record for home runs. But the Royals didn't do any of that. They held their water to the extent that they made moves. I think they maybe reacquired Melky Cabrera in 2017. They traded for like Trevor Cahill and Brandon Maurer and Ryan Buchter at the deadline in 2017 to add to their pitching staff.
What names there?
All those guys suck. That's all you got to know about those guys. Every single one of them was hot garbage. Anyhow, they were buyers when the odds and the logic would have said, maybe it's not going to happen for these Royals. But they had the championship equity, and that's why they made the moves that they made. The 2025 Royals don't have championship equity, but they have contender equity in the sense that they went to the playoffs last year. This is a team that's in a different position now than they were when they entered this time of year in 2024, when they had not proven that they could last in the 6-month marathon and be one of the last 6 teams standing in the American League. When you watch them on the right day, when you watch Bobby Witt Jr. or Vinny Pasquantino or Salvador Perez or Mikel Garcia, when you watch what Chris Bubich has done on the mound, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, you watch what these guys are capable of, you can talk yourself into them being one of the 6 best teams in the American League. And being one of the 6 best teams in the American League 100 games in is not the same as being one of the 6 best 162 games in. So you can talk yourself into it. You can convince yourself that a run is possible, at least a run to a playoff spot with this team, with this roster, particularly when comparison to some of the teams that are still ahead of them, but don't have that kind of contender equity in the American League race. But 3% odds are still 3% odds. I have argued that the thing the Royals have to do above anything else at this stage of their franchise's history is they have to do right by Bobby Witt Jr. He is the star. He is the highest paid. He is the face of the franchise. And when you gave him all that money and extended him for all those years, the implicit promise with that was, we are going to do our very best to put a competitive team on the field every year you're on our roster. And in 2024, they lived up to that mantle. And look, going into 2025, the Royals maybe did not go far enough. I think it can be said they did not add sufficiently to their offense to get to a better situation in 2025. It is ironic that the players that they could have signed, the players that they were tied to in free agency, have not exactly lit the world on fire for their respective teams. Go look at what Anthony Santander has done in Toronto this year. They're winning in spite of him. Tyler O'Neill in Baltimore? Yeah, that would have been a bad idea. We'd be killing the Royals if they'd given Tyler O'Neill that kind of money. But something had to be done more than just adding Jonathan India to this offense, and the Royals didn't do it, and that's a big part, probably the biggest part of the reason why they're at where they're at. So what do you owe Bobby Witt Jr.? What do you owe the franchise? What do you owe the 26 guys in the clubhouse that probably believe, most of them, hey, we made the playoffs last year. At our best, we know we're capable of performing at a high level. We were in the same division as the Tigers and saw what they did last year. Keep us together, add to this roster, let us make a run. But is that the responsible thing? Or is the responsible thing, if you're J.J. Picollo, to say Seth Lugo might be the most in-demand starting pitcher on the market, and he is not opting into $15 million a year next year, which means we are going to lose him for nothing next offseason. Is it more responsible to the future of the franchise to trade Seth Lugo right now? After all, Tigers traded Jack Flaherty at the deadline last year. That didn't end up hurting them all that much in the short term. They ended up making the playoffs, and then they re-signed Jack Flaherty in the offseason. So that ended up working great. If the Royals could turn that trick, if they knew they could do that, and I mean all of it, trade Lugo, still make the playoffs, and re-sign him, they should do it. They should trade him right now. So that is the big question that J.J. Picollo is faced with right now. And it's not an easy question because at the end of the day, it's a people business. Being a general manager means you're dealing with people. And it's one thing to have 3% playoff odds in your MLB The Show dynasty or your out-of-the-park baseball simulation and say, all right, yeah, let's just start shipping guys out of town. Whoever we can trade, let's trade them. Let's build up the farm system. Let's make sure that our farm, which is one of the weakest in baseball still, it must be said about the Royals, let's make sure the farm system's in better shape. Let's give ourselves a better chance to go be winners in 2026, 2027, and beyond. That's an easy thing to do when you're dealing with data, but you're dealing with people. You're dealing with a roster full of guys, again, that I am sure believes they are one of the 6 best teams in the American League and can pole vault over this crowd of teams in the wild card race and be one of the teams standing when the dust settles. That's why I would never want to be a general manager. We've all been conditioned to think it's an easy gig because we all play fantasy sports. We all do the text-based simulations, or we play out-of-the-park baseball or whatever it is, and we think these are easy decisions. They're not. You're making decisions with people. You're making decisions with lives and careers that are not easy to make. That's why these guys get compensated handsomely. But that's the decision that J.J. Picollo faces right now. Are you too far back? Are the odds too slim to push any chips forward and add to this roster? Making the responsible thing to do, trading Seth Lugo, seeing if there's a taker for Jonathan India, seeing if there might be a taker for Estevez or John Schreiber or another bullpen piece, and setting your sights fully on 2026 and beyond. Or do you go in that clubhouse and you look at Salvador Perez, who's 35 years old, who has dragged his batting stats back up above league average, who has dragged himself as a player back to replacement level after, remember, at one point, he was a Hunter Renfroe level contributor in terms of wins above replacement. Yeah. He had the same wins above replacement about a month and a half ago that Hunter Renfroe did, and he has erased that deficit. He's gotten back to replacement level. And Salvador Perez is 35 years old. And I don't know how many more good years Salvador Perez has between now and the end of his great career. But you're going to go tell him you're going to cash one of them in? Hey, I know you're getting hot, but sorry, you're going to have to get hot in these games that don't matter because we're stripping this thing for parts, and we're worried about 2026 and 2027 when there's no guarantee Salvador Perez will be a Kansas City Royal because his deal is up next year. What is the responsibility of J.J. Picollo? Is his responsibility to make this team as good as he can and let the chips fall where they may? Or is his responsibility to get some more lottery tickets so that you're not in 2026, 7 and beyond, just hoping some guys click? You've got a deeper organization. You've got some more higher end talent, and you've got a chance to go win a division instead of staring 15 games or whatever it is up at the Tigers. That's the question.
I think that's an extremely hard one to answer, and I think maybe it got a little clearer after this weekend. I think it'd be even harder if they swept the Marlins. But now you only take 1 out of 3 against the Marlins. It gets even worse of a question. Like, there's so much in there, as you just laid out, that I don't even begin to know how JJ Piccolo does his job, or any GM at any sport.
It's so much harder a job than the video game makes it feel, right?
Yeah.
Than fantasy baseball makes it feel. Yeah, I could be a GM. No, you couldn't.
I mean, I feel like baseball, because of the longevity of the season, and I feel like it's quite easier to make that decision halfway through the season in a 17 game season than 162, because they could trade away and still get on a roll. And all of a sudden it's
because that's just it, right? Because that is what happened with the Tigers.
Yeah.
Right. You look at what happened with the Tigers last year. They were sellers at the deadline. Their big piece was Jack Flaherty. They traded him. They got Trey Sweeney in return. Now, Trey Sweeney has not had a very good year this year, it must be said. I believe actually he's been they just called him back up not long ago, but he was down at AAA for a little bit. He's having a miserable year at the plate, just not contributing much at all. But he's only 25. He's got some runway ahead of him. But yeah, everybody else got hot, and the bullpen got hot, and you still had high-end talent on the roster like a Riley Green and a Tarek Skubal and a Kerry Carpenter, and those guys got hot, and that carried you through August and September. And it's not far-fetched. It's not entirely out of the question. Let's put it that way. Is it far-fetched? The playoff odds are what they are. You can decide if that meets your definition of far-fetched. But it's not out of the question that a hot Bobby Witt Jr. month, continued strong hitting from Salvador Perez, the potential return of Cole Reagans, continued excellence from Estevez at the back end of the bullpen, and Bubic, and guys like that, the guys who performed at a high level for the first 3 months and change of this season, continuing to perform at a high level, and the return of a guy like Cole Reagans, and then just a little bit more. Just a little tiny bit more from John Rave, who had his first 2 big league home runs on Friday night. Or Jack Caglione, who I thought had a decent weekend at the plate, the 2-run double yesterday, hitting the ball hard, looking better, looking refreshed after the break.
Yeah,
just I think a little bit, fractionally more from those guys.
And he's a guy that could dramatically change their season, I think, if he can get going.
Oh, 100%.
Because you got him up, and he had so hard luck hitting to start his career.
He did.
And if that changes to double, singles, homers, then this team could be in a lot different space. And I was at Friday night that I was watching, and they just kept the line moving. Or was it yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday. And they just kept the line moving. 2 outs. Well, guess what? Caglione gets a single, a double. That's what you need.
Yeah, that was the good version of this Royals team. And we've seen it. We've seen it for extended stretches. We just haven't seen it often enough. It's been too inconsistent. That's why they're in the spot that they're in. And the realist probably looks at things and feels about the same as our guy Lenny does on YouTube. Royals need to be honest and turn out the lights because the party's over. Or Mark H in the YouTube comments. Cool as it would be for the Royals. I can't see it for them this year, but who knows? Or texter from the 913 on our text line. Royals would have to go 38-24 to have last year's record. It ain't going to happen. That's probably the clear-eyed way to look at this. It is. But that's a harder thing to sell to a clubhouse with a little bit of contender equity like the Royals have. It's a harder thing to sell to a guy like Salvador Perez, who's only got but so many of these seasons left. So that's the difficulty that JJ Piccolo finds himself in, to the point where I would not be surprised if the Royals do decide to even add a bat. I think it would be, my stance was always trade Lugo. If they had gotten hot, it was going to be harder to justify that because Reagan seems a little further away than you'd like, but my stance is still the same on a Lugo deal. But I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if JJ Piccolo takes stock of his clubhouse and decides, I owe it to these guys to add. And that even if it's only an 8% chance, that's more than a 0% chance. So that's where I'm at with that. Me, personally, I think they are in a spot where it is probably the more responsible thing to do to sell. But my point is not that I am arguing full-throatedly for the Royals to go buy. It is that I think there are compelling reasons that JJ Piccolo might. So that's where I'm at with that. We're going to take a timeout. We're overdue for one. When we come back, our first round of What Is Wrong With You for the weekend here on 580 Sports Talk. What is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk is brought to you by our buddy Mo, State Farm Agent Ryan, Mo Winkle. Give him a call today, 785-273-1572. If you end up in somebody's What Is Wrong With You story, like these folks in Everett, Washington, which is where I will begin this week of What Is Wrong With You, where a suspect hit over a dozen cars after he sped off in a stolen vehicle. That wouldn't make it a What Is Wrong With You story. The fact the stolen vehicle was a fire truck is what makes it a What Is Wrong With You story. Police count at least 5 separate scenes where the suspect damaged cars, landscaping, or street signs through multiple North Everett neighborhoods. The suspect took off on foot after significantly damaging the fire engine, taking it out of commission completely. It was one of the newest in the fleet, too. Fire Chief Dave DeMarco says the department is reviewing the incident and examining their policies and procedures to see what, if anything, can be done to help prevent such occurrences in the future. I got one idea, Dave. Don't leave the keys in the ignition. I don't think that's actually what happened. I'm just being funny.
Doing damage to a fire truck like that's crazy. So it's
Heavy
undrivable.
Damage. Yes.
Because they're like million plus dollars.
Yeah. It was the truck was stolen at an apartment building in Everett just after 11 p.m. There was a fire crew responding to a medical emergency, and they were returning to their apparatus when they discovered it missing. I love the idea that they just, hey, wait a minute. You parked it there, right?
It was there.
It's not like when I go to like Kauffman Stadium and I go down the wrong row for a second and I like got to hit the panic button for my car. Nah, man, you parked a fire engine in an apartment building. What do you mean you can't find it? What do you mean you don't know where it is? At the same time, 911 got a call about a hit and run incident several blocks north involving the fire engine. And it just kept going and doing a lot of damage. 2 parked vehicles at one address, 2 more parked vehicles at a different address, damaged landscaping on a different street, then damaged direction signs, curbing, and grass at an intersection, and then 10 parked vehicles on one block where it met its demise.
Wow.
They have not yet found the suspect either. So there's that. Still looking for the guy.
Yeah.
So that's my what is wrong with you story. What have you got, Spencer?
From a fire truck to a lawn mower, a riding mower, a zero-turn mower. A man faces charges after troopers say he took his riding mower onto a busy toll road while impaired. According to the Florida Highway Patrol, dispatchers received calls from multiple witnesses around 8:30 a.m. last Friday, reporting a man operating a lawnmower erratically on the southbound side of the Suncoast Parkway in Florida. Troopers say traffic cameras showed the lawnmower going south from Citrus County into Hernando County, and the rider was pulled over just south of an exit. FHP said Christopher Spain, 38, showed severe signs of impairment, including small pupils, flushed skin, dry mouth, and visible irritation to the inside of his nose. Spain had...
His nose, you say?
Yeah.
Interesting. Wonder
Spain
how that
had
happened.
a small blue straw in his pocket, according to troopers, and repeatedly cleared his throat, sniffed, and spit during the traffic stop. He refused to perform field sobriety and was arrested on a charge of driving under the influence. Jail records show he was released on Friday afternoon on a $500 bond.
I'm going to go ahead and throw up the mugshot on our YouTube channel. If you're watching on 580 Sports Talk on YouTube right now, I'm going to throw the screenshot up. I want you to ask yourself a question. Does this look like the face of a man who would steal a lawnmower? What's he looking at?
Well, he didn't steal a lawnmower. He took his lawnmower on the road.
He what's he looking at? He got one eye looking straight ahead. The other one looks like it's tracking something high in the sky. Looking like he might be a little high in the sky.
Yeah.
Tough one for our guy Christopher. Anyway, all right, who wins today? We got our lawnmower joyride or dude, where's my fire truck, as Paul calls it.
I don't know. I think these are very evenly matched stories.
It is. It's a good matchup. Want to turn it over to the listeners?
Yeah, let's do it.
Vote in the YouTube comments, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, or on the text line, 785-272-9429. 785-272-9429. Vote for the lawnmower joyride or the fire truck thief. And whoever you choose will be our first weekly winner on What Is Wrong, or daily winner for the week on What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by our buddy Mo, State Farm Agent Ryan, Mo Winkle. We're going to talk some more Chiefs. Andy Reid spoke yesterday. We'll tell you what he said after this, 580 Sports Talk. 441 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. Thanks for tapping in today. Pretty lopsided vote during the commercial break. It is the fire truck thief. Dude, where's my fire truck? It's going to be our winner for Monday on What Is Wrong With You.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning that way, but like, they
No,
were
two
both
good stories.
They weren't like one off the rails.
No,
like,
no. I'm glad we turned it over to the listeners, and we let it be a democracy today. And the voters have spoken. It'll be the guy who stole a fire truck, and he's in the wind, which is crazy. So we could get an update on that one.
Ooh,
yeah, we could get an update on that one. Maybe later this week if the police in Everett find the guy. Training camp is underway for the Kansas City Chiefs. Their first workout day will be tomorrow. Coming up next week, by the way, I do want to tease this because I know everybody loves it. I know it won't really feel like Chiefs football season on these airwaves, on 580 Sports Talk, until we hear the golden voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. And if you feel that way, just know that makes two of us. I feel the exact same way as
three
you.
of us.
That makes three of us. There we go. So, wonderful news. The training camp reports with Mitch Holthus resume next Monday. That's right. Next week, Mitch Holthus back on the program on a daily basis throughout training camp with our training camp reports. Looking forward to having the voice of the Chiefs join us on the program to talk about the latest happenings, bring us audio clips and unparalleled insight into what's happening in the kingdom out in St. Joe as the Chiefs prepare to try to make a run at a fourth consecutive AFC championship, which, of course, has only ever been done once in AFC history. So that's a little show business for you, show announcement. Training camp reports with Mitch Holthus resume next Monday. In the meantime, you get us talking about training camp. Andy Reid spoke with the media yesterday as folks made it to St. Joe. And the big news, obviously, yesterday for the Chiefs was the George Karlaftis extension. We'll get to what Andy Reid had to say about that. But the news as far as practice participation, 3 players are going to start camp on the physically unable to perform list, which just means they don't count against the 90-man roster limit.
Training camp.
Right. They don't count against the 90-man limit, so the Chiefs could bring in 3 other bodies if they'd like, because these 3 players are going to start on the PUP list. Christian Fulton, the free agent signing previously of the Chargers via the Titans. Jawan Taylor, team starting right tackle last 2 seasons. And Trey Watson, who was our countdown to Chiefs kickoff player on Friday because he wears number 49. So those 3 are going to start on the PUP list for Trey Watson. I think here's what I will say about this. I expected that there would be a Chiefs tight end on the PUP list. I didn't think it was going to be Trey Watson because I didn't know about his injury situation. But the fact that it's not Jared Wiley,
that's a good
and
sign.
the fact that it's not Jake Brenningstool, notable, because those 2, I think, along with Robert Tonyan, are battling for, I think, 2 roster spots at tight end. I think it's those 3 guys for 2 spots.
So you think they're going 4?
Yeah, they'll go 4. They as much as they like to do 3 tight end stuff, they're definitely
that's true.
Really,
and plus Kelsey's getting older.
Kelsey getting a little older. There are going to be games you want to manage his snaps a little bit. So yeah, Kelsey and Noah Gray obviously are going to make the team, and then I think they got 3 for 2. And I think those 3 are Wiley, the draft pick from last year who got hurt, coming off the injury. It's good. It's good that he's progressed enough because he didn't really do much in the summer period.
Well, I think that would hurt too, especially if like you cut him because he got on the field late and didn't, and like Jake Brenningstool and Robert Tonyan put out better products in the preseason.
That's true. Yeah.
And that would suck for a draft pick to not have the opportunity to play his way on the roster.
Yeah. He, didn't really get to show much of anything during last season before he suffered the injury. So definitely a player that is worth monitoring. But Trey Watson's the tight end that starts on the PUP list. So it's good that Brenningstool's injury, because he sat out, I think, the last couple of days of minicamp. That's not real serious, and Jared Wiley's on the mend from the ACL injury. That's all good news there. Christian Fulton and Jawan Taylor starting on PUP. That's not what you want to hear about 2 guys that you project as starters going into the regular season. Reid would later go on to indicate that the belief is that Taylor is closer to return, but that they are hoping that both players are not absent for a very long period of time. Obviously, you think that affects the new guy more so than an established guy, that it would affect Fulton trying to work his way in, continue to work with a new defense, new scheme, new coaches, new teammates, all that stuff. But I do think it's interesting if the Chiefs are missing Jawan Taylor for any extended length of time, even just during camp, because that means more reps at right tackle for Jalen Moore, who hasn't played a lot of right tackle in the NFL. But if you think, and at this point, I would be surprised if this is not the case. Like, I think it is all systems go for Josh Simmons to be the day one starter at left tackle. This is
barring a setback,
barring some kind of setback. Yeah, right now it feels all systems go. This is what Andy Reid had to say about Simmons. Quote, he stayed up here this whole break at camp. He's been here working his tail off. And so it looks like, and the way he finished phase 3, it looks like he's ready to go. We'll keep an eye on him and see where he's at, but his conditioning was good when he was out there, and he seems to be a worker, so we'll just have to see. So positive developments all the way around for Josh Simmons. Not going to be limited in any way in training camp. I think the left tackle job is his to lose, which would make Jalen Moore a very handsomely compensated swing tackle for the Chiefs. I don't mind paying for quality, even if you're overpaying for it a little bit, at swing tackle, given what the Chiefs got for the cheap at swing tackle last year in Wanya Morris. But if you think, like I do, that Jalen Moore is going to be a kind of overqualified and definitely overcompensated swing tackle in 2025, you want him getting some more reps at right tackle. You want to see how a Simmons-Moore left and right side looks, because given the fact that there is a team option for a second year for Jalen Moore, that could be your left tackle and right tackle situation for 2026. And you might get to see a little bit more of that in camp. Now, they're going to rotate guys. Moore is going to get plenty of reps in at left tackle. That's the way the Chiefs and Andy Heck, the offensive line coach, have always liked to do things. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to see more Jalen Moore at the right tackle spot, especially if you think that there's a possibility, and I certainly think it's a real possibility, that he's your starting right tackle in 2026 on what would be a pretty team-friendly contract for the year. Anyway, other stuff from Andy Reid. Really liked what he had to say about George Karlaftis. He was asked about Karlaftis signing the long-term deal. It's funny, the reporter was trying to be cagey about it just in case it wasn't official, and Reid corrected him. He said, I think that's done if you need some breaking news. So kind of funny. Andy Reid's got some jokes. But I love this quote. He was talking about Karlaftis. He said, quote, he is a relentless player. I mean, that's what you get with George. He's smart, relentless. You can trust and know that he is reliable. So you can trust that he's going to be there and do the right things and go 100 miles an hour doing them. Very well respected that way, end quote. What is one of the biggest factors when it comes to guys seeing the field on defense, especially under Steve Spagnuolo? Trust. Do they trust you to do the right thing?
Yeah.
Karlaftis got a ton of snaps last year. I think it was 83% of the snaps Karlaftis played. And in an ideal world, you can maybe pull back on that a little bit this year because you'd like to have a little bit more functional depth at defensive end. You'll have a full season of Charles Omenihu, for instance. Ashton Gelati's going to get some time. Maybe some more snaps this year for Felix Anudike-Uzomah. You think you can maybe pull back on George's snaps, but the flip side of that is they trust him. That's a big honking deal. That's the deal as far as playing time on that side of the ball in particular goes. Like, we all rented the garments to varying degrees over all the snaps that Dan Sorensen used to get. But why did Dan Sorensen get all those snaps? Spags trusted him to be in the right spot and do the right things. And sometimes he was going to get out-athleted, like when Dawson Knox ran by him in that one regular season game against Buffalo. But he was always going to be in the right spot and doing the right things. And that's what George Karlaftis is. Now, I'm not comparing him as a caliber player to a Dan Sorensen. I think he's a much more valuable player than Dan Sorensen ever was. But that's why they like him so much. That's why they've decided to make him part of their long-term core. And that might be the main reason why he plays so many snaps and why we might not see much of a decrease in his snap count moving forward. for this upcoming season. We will take a timeout. When we come back, we will wrap up this 4 o'clock hour on 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up this 4 o'clock hour on 580 Sports Talk. If you love Chiefs content on your TV, we have a release date, or at least a premiere date. That's a better way to describe it. For ESPN's 6-part Chiefs documentary, The Kingdom. The ESPN original, The Kingdom, naturally, like everything associated with Patrick Mahomes, it is presented by State Farm. They got the advertising in there and everything. It will premiere August 14th, and it looks like all 6 episodes will be released on August 14th on ESPN Plus and Disney Plus. A 6-part chronicle of the Chiefs' 2024 season, and also, and I'm quoting from the press release here, the franchise's indelible and distinctive place in the NFL's landscape for more than 6 decades of history. So this is pure Chiefs hagiography. Imagine if I went back in time 13 years. We'll go back to 2012. We'll go back to before Andy Reid got hired. Let's go back to the end of the 2012 season, and I went back and told all of you, ESPN is doing a 6-part documentary on the history of the Kansas City Chiefs. How many of you would have asked me, well, is it like a comedy? Like, is it jokes? Like, are they going to make fun of us? Like, the Chiefs were in a bad way, obviously, prior to the start of the Andy Reid era. Imagine talking about the indelible and distinctive place in the NFL's landscape of the Kansas City Chiefs in the early 2010s. And now they really are one of the Tiffany franchises in the National Football League's history. Like, they are now a team where, like, and this is no disrespect, obviously, to the teams that went to 2 Super Bowls and won 1 in the early days of the late stages of the AFL, the early days of the post-merger. But they have become kind of in the same way that it happened to the Patriots because of what they did in the 2000s and the 2010s. They are now a franchise that you cannot tell the story of the NFL without. And there are but a handful of those teams, right? The Packers are certainly one, and the Steelers, the Cowboys, 49ers, you put in that category. The Patriots certainly became one of those franchises. Now the Chiefs are one of those franchises. It's just a handful, right?
Yeah.
So this should be pretty interesting. obviously didn't get the ending ESPN wanted or anybody wanted from the Chiefs' perspective with regards to the team's extraordinary 2024 season. But all 6 episodes will premiere on ESPN Plus and Disney Plus on August 14th. They will show the show in sequential order on ESPN with episodes 1 and 2 debuting on ESPN television that same night. So, are you in? Like 6 episodes on the history of the Chiefs? Are you in?
Let's do it. I'm in.
I'm in too. I'm really interested to see how that turns out.
It'll give me some content before the football season because nobody wants to break down preseason game film.
No, that's true.
I'd rather watch a 6-part Chiefs documentary. Get me hyped for the season.
I hear that. I think we'll get a lot of people really excited for the season. August 14th, all 6 episodes, ESPN Plus and Disney Plus. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we have got a ton of 580 Sports Talk headlines. We have to talk about this story about Memphis being willing to pay to join the Big 12, and we'll preview the Royals and Cubs on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour on this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis, kicking it with you on this Monday. Hope you stayed dry this morning. So glad to have you along here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And on our video stream, check out our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. And hang out in the live chat with your fellow listeners throughout the show on YouTube. You can also watch us on Facebook at WIBW News. We've got one more hour of the show today. Lots of headlines to get to. Whole lot of headlines to get to. We got some NFL news. We got some college football news. We got some Royals news. We got some K-State news. And, of course, since it's a Monday, we got the winner's circle, too, to get to. We also have a story that broke earlier today, and the cold water got poured on it before the spark could even become a little bit of a flame.
Yeah.
But the report emerged that Memphis, the University of Memphis, was willing to pay their way into the Big 12 conference. And the Big 12 was like, nah, we're good. Didn't even vote on it. The Big 12 is like, nah, man, we're straight. We go with our 16. We don't not really even enticed a little bit by all your FedEx and Lowe's and AutoZone money. Memphis, if you do not know, the Memphis Athletic Department, super tied in with some major corporate donors. None more major, of course, than FedEx, whose founder, Fred Smith, passed away, I think like a month ago or something like that. But, I mean, obviously, their basketball team plays at the FedEx Forum. Like, there's a lot of money there from the FedEx folks. AutoZone's corporate's in Memphis. Lowe's corporate is in Memphis, I believe. There's a lot of corporate money and corporate interest and sponsor and donor interest in getting into a Power 4 league. And the Big 12 is just like, yeah, man, you guys even feel like voting on this? No? All right, cool.
That says a lot because there was a lot of money involved.
There's a lot of money involved. And Memphis is not a bad athletic department. Like, their basketball's generally pretty good. Made the NCAA tournament last year, won the American. Speaking of which, we're not going to get to this in headlines, but it's just the American now. It is not the AAC, not the American Athletic Conference. It's just the American, or the American Conference if you must.
The AC?
No, just the American.
Yeah, but
if you must abbreviate it for space purposes, they ask that you just use AMER. But no, there is no abbreviating it as the AAC. The athletic part is no longer part of the name. They are the American. And if you're going to refer to them, you will refer to them as the American, or if you must, the American Conference, but the American. But Memphis basketball won the American last year, and football generally pretty good, generally like a bowl caliber team in that league at the very least. And they're like the Fresh Prince, Will Smith, standing in the room with Uncle Phil. Why don't nobody want me, man? We're going to get to that story later on. We'll preview the Royals-Cubs series as well. We got baseball tonight here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. The Cubs and the Royals from Wrigley Field. First pitch is at 7:05, so we'll have pregame coverage at 6:30, which means we'll have some 580 Sports Talk overtime for you. We'll re-rack our conversation from earlier today with our NFL insider, Matt Berteram. That'll be our overtime conversation of the day today.
Some Cubs news for later that could help the Royals.
Yeah, I think it might be good that their MVP candidate might not play tonight and through the series. Yeah, that
could help.
That could be. Because look, here's the deal. We talk about. I always say, you can't look series by series. You got to broaden your scope. You got to look at the full road trip or the full homestand. And if the Royals can get 2 out of 3 in Chicago, which will be no mean feat, even without Pete Crow Armstrong tonight, the Cubs are still really good. That lineup is awesome. They don't have any weak links in the lineup. Pitching staff is solid, even though they're going with a bullpen day today. And I don't think the Royals are going to have to deal with Imanaga, who's their best pitcher, which is a big deal. But if the Royals get 2 out of 3, then they come home with a 500 road trip. And again, that's good, objectively. Good to play 500-ish ball on the road. But again, we are running out of time for good to be good enough. So, again, it all depends on your perspective. And I guess what the Royals do all depends on JJ Piccolo's perspective. So we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. But as I said, first want to remind people that you can interact with the program today via the text line, 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429, and on the YouTube chat as well. If you are watching on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, we've had some great viewership, great comments so far today. Appreciate those. Keep them coming in the live chat, youtube.com or the YouTube app. Search for 580 Sports Talk and hop in and join the fun watching us live. We got a lot of headlines. Like I said, we got a lot of headlines today. So let's jump in with the headline of the day for the Royals. The man they call Dick Mountain is coming up to the Royals. Rich Hill will have his contract selected from AAA Omaha, according to Robert Murray, a fan cited, and he could pitch for them as soon as tomorrow. Again, the Royals need a starting pitcher for tomorrow with Michael Lorenzen on the injured list. And Rich Hill, 45 years old, is on his way back to the Bigs. He has pitched 42 innings with Omaha down at AAA, and he's had 2 really bad outings, which have inflated his ERA up over 5. But he's also had a pair of quality starts, 6 or more innings, fewer runs, and another pair of solid 5-inning efforts. He's allowed just 1 run over his past 7 innings and has struck out 11 in that time frame. Rich Hill, when he does make his Royals debut, again, the guess is that it will be tomorrow, but don't know for sure. Hasn't been announced. Obviously, the Royals won't talk about it until they make the roster move official, which presumably will be tomorrow. Rich Hill will be pitching for his 14th Major League Baseball team. Are you ready for the order?
Yes, I heard this earlier. It's crazy.
So he broke in with the Cubs back in 2005. What were you doing in 2005, Spencer?
I was like 7 years old.
So you're going to first grade? First grade then?
Yeah.
Okay. 2005 would have been my freshman year of college. Between my freshman year and my sophomore year of college. 2005. Rich Hill makes his debut with the Chicago Cubs. Pitches for them through the 2008 season. 2009 appears with the Baltimore Orioles. In 2010 and 2011 and 2012, he makes a handful of relief appearances. He's up and down with the Boston Red Sox. His results are really good. He just doesn't get the chance to really stick in the major leagues. He makes 40 appearances over those 3 years and only allows 4 earned runs in those 40 appearances. 2013, 63 appearances out of the bullpen with the then Cleveland Indians. He's not very good in those 63 appearances. So in 2014, he's on the move again. 2 appearances with the Angels, 14 appearances with the Yankees. He pitches well for the Yankees in relief, but it's only 5 1/3 innings over 14 appearances. This is before the 3-batter rule. You could be a loogie. 2015, back to the Red Sox, makes 4 really good starts for them down the stretch. Pitches to a 1.55 ERA. 2016 is the first year since 2007 with the Cubs. He is a full-time starter. He pitches very well for Oakland and then gets traded to the Dodgers at the deadline. He pitches for the Dodgers regularly in their rotation through 2017, 2018, and 2019. In 2020, the COVID year, he makes 8 starts with the Minnesota Twins. They are all pretty good. He has an ERA in the low 3s. He's also 40 years old. In 2021, opens the season with the Rays, gets traded to the Mets at the deadline, pitches to an ERA in the upper 3s. Solid 31 starts for the 41-year-old. 2022, back to Boston for a 3rd cameo with the Red Sox. He's fine. 2023 starts the year with Pittsburgh. Results are kind of starting to diminish a little bit. Gets traded to San Diego, gets knocked around as a member of the Padres. Last year, works his way back to the major leagues, makes 4 appearances with Boston in September. His 4th time around with the Red Sox. And now he will be a Royal. That is his 14th team. It will tie the major league record. It will tie Edwin Jackson for the most teams played for in a major league career. He is also going to be the oldest member of the Royals ever. He will be 45 years and 133 days old tomorrow. That will make him older than Gaylord Perry was, the Hall of Famer, when he pitched for the 1983 Kansas City Royals. In his final game in the major leagues, Perry was 6 days removed from his 45th birthday. So, lots of history at stake, but like the Royals, aren't really interested in making history. They need Rich Hill to pitch well. And we'll see. We'll see
They
what
really
he
do.
Yeah, we'll see what he's got in the tank. But
If he has nothing, they always have 42-year-old Dallas Keuchel.
he's not 42.
How old is he?
I think he's like 37.
Oh.
Yeah, he's not that old. I will always mark out for any professional athlete who is older than me. So I am, of course, rooting for Rich Hill's success. But again, the Royals don't need a nice story. They need 5 good innings tomorrow. We'll see if the man they call Dick Mountain is capable of it. Text from the 785 says it's like the rookie, but less interesting, and he must hate his family. Wow. No, look, it's like the rookie, except Rich Hill's good. How about that? It's like the rookie, but Rich Hill's been good in his career. Got a career ERA of 4.01. Not too shabby. That's above league average, according to ERA Plus, for the course of his 20-year, now 21, big league career. You've got a couple of K-State headlines, Spencer.
Yeah, so the news broke last night when this once former Wildcat put on his Instagram, that's CJ Jones. He announced he is withdrawing his name from the transfer portal and he will return to the Wildcats for his senior season this upcoming season. Very interesting development here.
Yeah, it was a big surprise.
Yeah.
Right. He played in every game last year for K-State, and I mean, he was fine. He was a reserve guard on a bad Big 12 team, which is what he is. But experience within the program, I think those are all good things. Hopefully this version of Kansas State will have to lean a little less on a guy like CJ Jones to play a role. Last year's team wasn't very good, and he played a lot. If this year's team is better, he shouldn't have to play as much. But they're looking to fill out the roster, and they were able to come up with a guy who has Big 12 experience and knows the program. That's a positive, and I think we can take that. Some scary news, though, from the football program.
Yeah, I think this hadn't really been made known publicly until a statement was released from K-State Athletics earlier today. But offensive lineman George Fitzpatrick, projected to be the starting left tackle, is dealing with a scary medical issue. A statement from K-State Athletics and the Fitzpatrick family earlier today. George had a medical situation to which the training staff quickly responded. He is improving every day, and we appreciate all who cared for and supported him as he continues to recover. So, scary situation there for Fitzpatrick, who was projected to be the left tackle at the start of the season for the K-State Wildcats.
So it was fairly alarming. There were some tweets out there. Ian Moore, former Ohio State former Ohio State teammate of Fitzpatrick's, had posted to X a couple of nights ago. I just wanted y'all to keep our former Buckeye George Fitzpatrick in your prayers. I'm not going to go deep into it for respects of his family, but please pray for a speedy recovery and no complications. We don't have official word from the team or from the athletic department on what happened necessarily. Obviously, when you think about a summer practice incident, you think it could have been perhaps heat related, hydration related, something like that. But again, that's speculation I probably shouldn't be doing, but because nothing has been confirmed by the team or the Fitzpatrick family. But it does certainly sound like a serious situation, and obviously the only important thing is that he recovers, and that K-State folks send him very well wishes as he recovers from what sounds like a pretty serious medical event. Let's keep it moving. We got some NFL news for our next headlines. We told you on Friday about the resignation of the executive director of the NFL Players Association, Lloyd Howell. Well, the former NFLPA president, who was in charge in his playing days when Howell was hired, and it was the chief strategy officer for the NFLPA, J.C. Tretter, has announced his resignation from his position and has withdrawn himself from consideration for the interim executive director position with the NFLPA, saying, quote, "Over the last couple of days, it's gotten very, very hard for my family, and that's something I can't deal with. I'm going to leave the NFLPA in the coming days because I don't have anything left to give the organization." Will Compton, outspoken former player, podcaster, posted to X the other night, quote, "We got to be the dumbest union in all of sports. Yeah, let's vote for the guy who was in charge of hiring Lloyd Howell. Let's vote for the guy who swept a lot of expletive under the rug when NFL owners were colluding not to give out guaranteed contracts. The NFLPA is constantly outmatched and it's truly our own doing. There were reports out there that there are a lot of players who were just kind of unaware of the malfeasance that was going on at the top of the NFLPA. And now that they've been made aware, they're pretty embarrassed. And it is no surprise that Treader follows Howell out the door.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking about a guy, Will Compton, who is not officially retired from the league, but done playing football. So he's going to be a guy that's going to say something like that and not care about it. I think if you're a player and you're a current player voicing your opinion, that's got to be tough.
Yeah. Oh, I would imagine so. Yeah. There are a lot of former players, multiple former players. Ben Watson, another former player and NFLPA executive committee member, also posted in support of removing Treader from the NFLPA. So more upheaval in the Players Association. More NFL news, some injury notes. A couple of players are going to miss the season, Spencer.
Yep. As we get closer to training camp, Lions defensive tackle Levi Onwuzurike will miss the entire 2025 season with an ACL injury, and that continues the bad defensive. I shouldn't say bad. The defensive line injuries for the Lions that heckled them last season are creeping into continuing into this season.
The bad injury luck, I think you can certainly say. Yeah.
And then the other injury, Titans backup quarterback Will Levis, most likely. I think Cam Ward was going to win that job.
Probably.
Will Levis to have shoulder surgery, and he will miss the entirety of the 2025 season. Which, while from an outside perspective, I think that might be good.
I think it's good that there is no chance Will Levis will play a game for the 2025.
But I'm saying it's good because there's no chatter.
Yeah, it's definitely less of a
Cam Ward's team.
Yeah, you can't really pretend there's a competition between. Do you know who their backup is? Brandon Allen. He started some NFL games.
Yeah.
He might even be better than Will Levis. You know who their number 3 quarterback is? I guffawed when I saw who their 3rd string quarterback is. You just saw it?
Yeah.
Tim Boyle. Aaron Rodgers' buddy, who threw 1 college touchdown to 13 college interceptions in his college career. That Tim Boyle. I can't believe he's still in the league. Aaron Rodgers isn't even employed by these teams. How far can being Aaron Rodgers' buddy carry you? Unbelievable. Unbelievable that Tim Boyle still has a gig. I bet the Titans signed somebody off the street. There's no way they want to carry Boyle as their 3rd quarterback this year. Absolutely no chance.
Yeah, they'll probably wait till somebody gets cut.
Continuing with our 580 Sports Talk headlines, we are going to make full use of having our DC Sports insider, Spencer Dupuis, in the studio for this one. Let's go ahead and do the preface.
Yeah.
We are standing by. If we hear the get your politics out of my sports siren sound during this segment, we will step away and lay down our arms. But it was the big sports news of yesterday. President Donald Trump is threatening to hold up a new stadium deal for Washington's NFL team if it does not restore its old nickname. So President on Sunday took to his little fake Twitter that people made for him when he got kicked off of the real Twitter. Remember when that happened? He got kicked off of real Twitter back in 2020. So they made him like a Play School, Fisher-Price kind of Twitter called Truth Social, I believe.
Yeah.
And so he was posting some truth over on Truth Social. His truths. That's what the posts are called. Twitter's tweets on Truth Social, they're called truths. And so he's posting some truths. And one of the truths that he posted suggested that there is a big clamoring for both the Washington NFL team and the Cleveland Major League Baseball team to restore their nicknames to the previous versions. Of course, you had the Cleveland Indians for many years. They changed to the Guardians, I believe 4 years ago. I think it was 2021. They announced they were going to change. Of course, Washington's football team, now the Commanders, had a nickname that I'm not going to repeat for the same reason that I would not say any other racial slur on the radio, because it was a racial slur. Anyhow, the follow-up is that there was another post, and the suggestion from President Trump was that he would interfere or place a restriction on the possibility of a new stadium in Washington, D.C. Now, you've been tracking this, obviously,
Yes.
with some interest because you're a fan of the team. The old RFK Stadium site,
Yeah.
that's in Washington, D.C.
Yes, it is.
So if there were to be any funding for the use of that land, it would have to involve the federal government, right?
No. So it's a tightrope that has been walked. So after at some point over the last number of years, it became the federal government's land when the land became abandoned.
Right.
And there was no redevelopment. The federal government said, we're going to step in to protect. It's like the protection of the land or whatever. So back last year, it went through Congress and they agreed to it. And there was that cycled into 2025, or I think January 15th.
It was in January
15th. Roger Goodell, Josh Harris, and Joe Biden, along with DC Mayor Bowser, were in the Oval Office. And as though Joe Biden signed an executive order for the federal government to lease that land for 99 years back to the DC government.
Okay.
The DC government is a council.
So the federal government, at the end of the day, ceded control of that land, transferred control of the land to the District of Columbia.
With the redevelopment hopes.
Right. So there is no federal government say on what exactly happens with that land.
Kind of. So this is from Eric Flack of WSA 9 in DC. He's been the guy on this whole story.
Sure.
Ever since it's been going. 3 ways Trump can kill the RFK deal. 1, he takes executive action canceling that lease that was put in executive order by former President Joe Biden.
Okay.
The second, the National Capital Planning Commission is a president selected cabinet, kind of like a cabinet position. They cast critical votes on the construction projects, including RFK, which he has people that he put in to that position. Also, the Commission of Fine Arts, which has to do with the Kennedy Center and all that, which he took over. They review design of all DC construction. He appointed board members on the final 2 that I just mentioned.
Okay. So
that's how he can kill the deal legally.
DC Council Chairman Phil Mendelson provided a statement to ESPN saying, quote, "I'm focused on getting the best deal for district taxpayers, getting the deal across the finish line. I've heard from 0 district residents complaining about the name change or saying this is an issue in connection with the stadium." That is the statement again from the chairman of the DC Council.
Well, a little other backstory here. The reason it's even gone to this level is because they have yet to vote to okay it in the council. The council has yet to vote on the budget that would give them that smaller amount of money than you would expect for a stadium deal from a municipality, right?
Right.
Like when this was announced, it was a small amount compared to a lot of other deals that have gone through across the nation. It hasn't gone through to them yet. The Commanders haven't officially been able to take over the land, if you are getting my drift. Like, what? Yes. Because there's wordage and verbiage of where their money is going, but where the Commanders are going to take money from, and the parking garage revenue money is going to the Commanders, not the council, even though the city is paying for it. They're paying for the road infrastructure. So it's a lot of jargon that can be worked out eventually.
So what this ends up being is a lot of, posturing and ado about something that is probably not going to happen. I have to agree with this particular Twitter post, though, from a Twitter user that said, "President should not be telling the Washington R words to change their name. Our country has far bigger problems. Focus on them, not nonsense." I agree wholeheartedly with @RealDonaldTrump, who tweeted that on October 8th of 2013. One more headline from college football.
Can I just finish out a real quick thing here? According to Washington Post poll that they did with a George Mason School of Law, half of the DC area adults now like or love the team's name. That is up from 34% last year.
You know why they like or love it? Because the team's good.
Bingo!
For the better part of my 38 years of living, the slurs were a joke. They were terrible. They were the Dan Snyder franchise. They were a laughing stock. Now they're the Commanders, and they have Jaden Daniels, and they're good. They would like the nickname if they were the Washington cream cheese and bagels now, because the team is good.
But also, the same time that in which this name was announced that it was going to be changed, do you know who was the president of the United States when the team came out and made this whole announcement?
Yeah, changed it to the football team, right?
Yeah.
That was.
Do you know who the president of the United States was?
I think it's the same person who's in charge now. Give me the college football headline of some Big 12 interest here.
Yes, we have seen now a new home for former BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff. He commits to Tulane to walk on to the American Conference team.
Yes, Tulane, they are an American school.
Yes.
Good for Tulane for figuring out their quarterback situation. They had brought in like 4 transfers, and then one of them never made it to school and had to leave, TJ Finley. They lost their guy. If you remember watching the Tulane K-State game last year, Darian Mensah looked like a dude. He was I think a true freshman or a redshirt freshman at least. He started that game. He diced up K-State, and he looked like the future for them. Well, he transferred to Duke. He hit the portal, went to Duke. So Tulane was kind of scrambling to find a quarterback, and they have found themselves a pretty good one for John Sumrall's team in Jake Retzlaff. We wrap up our headlines with a look at the winner's circle. Big winners from the weekend in the NASCAR Cup Series. Denny Hamlin wins at Dover for a second straight year. It's his 4th win of the year. 58 career wins for the 44-year-old Denny Hamlin. Still winning at a high level, even at an advanced age. Denny Hamlin, a winner at Dover.
Andy's got to deal with the fact that he's also an owner.
Yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
With his ownership group with Michael Jordan and the NASCAR relegation to everything.
A lot going on behind the scenes.
That says a lot that you can still go out there and put all that behind you and win races.
Yeah, for sure. And in golf, at the Open Championship, Scotty Scheffler, the #1 player in the world, wins by 4 shots. It is his 4th major title. He's won all of those majors by 4 or more shots. And this is a fun fact. It took exactly as many days between major #1 and major #4 for Scotty Scheffler as it took Tiger Woods between his 1st and 4th major championships. People say Scotty's boring to watch. I don't think there's anything boring about watching somebody master golf.
Yeah.
He's not as exciting as Tiger Woods. Nobody's ever going to be that exciting, but I don't think it's boring to watch a dude be the very best and like beyond what anybody else is capable of accomplishing. I don't care what the sport is. I don't care if it's football. I don't care if it's golf. I don't care if it's darts. If you're that much better than your peers at what it is that you do, you're not boring. And Scotty Scheffler is not boring. And he is the best golfer in the world. And he's got 4 majors, and he's going to win a lot more before he's through. That's going to do it for our headlines. When we come back, Memphis thought they made the Big 12 an offer they couldn't refuse. The Big 12 refused. We'll talk about it next on 580 Sports Talk. 536 on 580 Sports Talk. This was a wild story that broke earlier today and ended up not really being anything to it. It's not going to happen, but Ross Dellinger had it first from Yahoo Sports. In the most lucrative membership proposal in college sports history, Memphis made a $200 million offer to join the Big 12. So this is where it came from. It featured hundreds of millions of dollars in sponsorship commitments to the Big 12 from Memphis-affiliated corporate partners such as FedEx, Lowe's, and AutoZone, and others. The school also said they would not take a dime of revenue distribution from the league for at least 5 years. That is a similar proposal to what SMU offered the ACC and why SMU is now in the ACC, that they would not take revenue distribution payments, that they would forego that in exchange for being allowed to join the league. Now, there's a bit of a difference between the kind of money SMU's sitting on and the kind of money the University of Memphis is sitting on, with all due respect to the might of the corporate partnerships in question here. And with all due respect to what is referred to in the article as a sizable gift, a massive gift coming from FedEx, I wonder if that's the late Fred Smith just leaving his entire fortune to Memphis Athletics.
Could be,
or a substantial portion of his fortune to Memphis Athletics. Anyway, more from the story from Dellinger. Memphis president Bill Hardgrave spent at least 14 months visiting with the presidents and top athletic administrators of many Big 12 schools in individual on-campus meetings that have culminated in an offer to the league expected to be as high as $200 million over the next 5 years. That's $40 million a year for the league. You do a little math on what that is per the 16 schools. The proposal was attractive enough to garner weeks of exploration from the conference. The industry has never been in a more money-hungry time, Dellinger writes. Big 12 schools are receiving roughly $1 million in additional revenue annually from a sponsorship with PayPal. Memphis's proposal would have increased that by at least $2 million per school, with sponsorship commitments from UM partners, including, as I mentioned, FedEx, Lowe's, and AutoZone. Memphis's proposal is described as a no-risk concept because the school would take zero distribution for the final 5 years of the league's new TV deal and subject itself to expulsion after 2031 if the Big 12 deemed it was not adding value. But Dellinger's story was careful to note that any expansion move needs the support of a supermajority of the league's presidents and chancellors, 12 of the 16. Brett McMurphy of On3 and Follow Up Reporting reported that the league is not even going to call a vote. It's just a no. They do not have the support within the league to join the league. There was this quote from a Big 12 administrator in the Dellinger article that says it all. Quote, "We vetted Memphis when we added the other four, Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, and BYU, and chose not to add them. What's changed now?" Sick burn, anonymous Big 12 administrator. Because it's true, right? Like, Memphis's whole argument has been, we've got sponsor money. We've got FedEx money. That is the thing that Memphis Athletics has hung its hat on through all of this. They've been trying to get into a power conference, a Power 5, now Power 4 league for the longest. And the thing that they hang their hat on is, we got FedEx money. Well, they got AutoZone money. They got Lowe's money too. And that's not nothing, but it's not such a great athletic department. It's not a bad athletic department. Like I said, basketball's got great support. They get good crowds, and they've had a history of success. Football has had a history of being a solid bowl team. But it's just not real attractive to the Power 4 conferences. And listen, I think this would have been a borderline suicidal decision by Memphis, because they're not sitting on the kind of money that SMU is sitting on, where they can say, okay, yeah, we're not gonna take revenue distribution payments for a few years, but we're gonna come through it okay. Like we're gonna set that 30, 40 million a year per school, whatever it is that you get that they're getting from ESPN for the ACC. We're just gonna set that aside, but we'll be all right. Memphis ain't gonna be all right turning down that kind of money, unless Fred Smith is giving Fort Knox to the Memphis athletic department. They do not have the resources to slough off 5 years of revenue sharing and be paying $40 million a year to the conference on top of that just to get into the club. That is
crazy to me.
What do they say? Desperation is a stinky cologne.
Yeah.
Now, where Memphis goes next, Dellinger finishes his article, remains unclear. Pac-12 officials have expressed serious interests in the program and even offered the school a term sheet last year, something Memphis leaders rejected. Oh, you're too good for the new Pac-12, huh? Memphis officials have as well had talks with leaders in the Big East about a potential move of its basketball program. So that's where this story sits. It's not going to happen. The Big 12 doesn't have any interest in it happening. Like, I think Memphis basketball would be additive to the Big 12. It would be a good program added to a really good league, or the best league. But unbelievable. We will pay you to join your club. And the chancellor's like, nah, man. Like we've been there. We toured your facilities. We're not real.
Did they really get together with all their sponsors and everything and go like, if we can make this work, this is a deal no one would turn down.
There's no way.
There's no way this deal is going to get turned down.
The Big 12
we're not going to take any money, and we're going to give money.
We're going to pay $40 million, and we're not going to take any money back for 5 years. Like,
it's laughable.
If you know anything about SMU, you understand why they can do it.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about Memphis, you know why they can't. Yeah, wild move. It would have been borderline suicidal for the university, and I think the Big 12 did them a favor.
The funniest thing is, like, did they not know that they were a team that was vetted years ago? I'm assuming they knew.
Oh, absolutely. They've been begging for this. They've been trying to get. They were trying to get in the ACC. They would have made this offer to the ACC too. I think they saw SMU do it and they got an idea. Like, they have been dying for this because Memphis basketball historically, like, they went to a Final Four in the 70s. They were real good in the 90s. Penny Hardaway obviously played for a national title in 2008.
He's our head coach now, right?
What's that? Yeah, Penny's coach now. Like, it's a great basketball program with great history, and it's a city that cares a lot about basketball, cares a lot about college basketball. So they get good crowds at the FedEx Forum when they're really good.
What about their football team?
The Liberty Bowl's really big and hard to fill. They have renovated the stadium. They spent some money on that stadium. They've renovated. They've modernized it a little bit. But yeah, Memphis football, like we haven't seen them in the New Year's Six, right? Like they're not that level of football program, not by any means. So yeah, I think the Big 12 made the right move, and I think they did Memphis a favor. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll preview Cubs Royals tonight when we come back. 547 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. We'll have a little overtime before we get to Royals baseball tonight. Royals opening a 3-game set against the Cubs on the north side of Chicago. First pitch at 7:05, meaning pregame coverage is coming at 6:30. It's a bullpen day for the Cubs. Ryan Brazier will take I think it's Brazier, actually. I think it rhymes with Frazier. Brazier is in Frazier, not Brazier as in that. No, I think it's Brazier. I guess I don't know. I know of him, but I guess I don't know his. He's been a pretty good relief pitcher. He's kicked around the league, Boston, the Dodgers. He's got a 1.04 ERA and some limited time with the Cubs this year. He's going to get the start for the Cubs tonight. And it'll be Noah Cameron for the Royals, making his first start post All-Star break, looking to continue his fine run of form that took him into the break. It'll be a tough lineup for Chicago, though not as tough as it typically is with the absence of Pete Crow Armstrong, the Cubs MVP candidate in center field. He's got a bruised right knee, and he is out of the lineup tonight, which too bad from the standpoint of he's a joy to watch play. He's probably all things considered, I think he's the best defensive player in baseball. Like the metrics back this up. He is a wonderful defensive center fielder. I think I don't know if this is still true. I'm going to have to sprint over to Baseball Savant to check this out. But I think he and Bobby Witt Jr. are, according to Outs Above Average, the two best defensive players in Major League Baseball this year. I'm going to double check that.
While you double check that, I meant to say this earlier during the Royal segment. 66 pitches. And Q takes out Bubic. He better not do that tonight for Noah Cameron.
I think that's probably just managing workload a little bit. They were comfortably ahead, and I think that was more about workload management than not letting Bubic keep pitching. Also, he was coming off the All-Star game when he pitched. So
I mean, I guess, but you're having likely a bullpen day tomorrow. You never know what you're going to get from Rich Hill.
Now they're calling up Rich Hill. So
you don't know what you're going to get from him.
Well, this is true, but the fact that they're calling up a starter suggests it's not going to be a traditional, like, all right, Jonathan Bolin for one and Daniel Lynch for one, or however, they've constructed
They
those.
could do an opener and then have Rich Hill finish.
According to fielding run value, Pete Crow Armstrong is the most valuable defensive player in baseball. Bobby Witt Jr. is actually tied for 5th. Alejandro Kirk of the Jays, their catcher, and Ceddanne Rafaela, who's also a wonderful defensive center fielder for Boston, and San Francisco catcher Patrick Bailey rank ahead of Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby's tied with Mason Wynn, the Cardinal shortstop, Mauricio Dubon, who plays all over the field for Houston, and Nick Allen, who plays shortstop for the Braves. Anyhow, give you the lineups that Noah Cameron will face tonight. It'll be Nico Horner leading off, Kyle Tucker in right field, Seiya Suzuki will play center and bat third, Carson Kelly batting cleanup. He's been a wonderful surprise for the Cubs this year. He didn't hit a lick his whole career, and now he's mashing. He's batting cleanup. Ian Happ, the switch hitters in left field. Dansby Swanson's in short and batting 6th. Michael Busch is the first baseman. Justin Turner will DH. Matt Shaw is at third base. I said earlier, the Cubs lineup really doesn't have any weak links, and 1 through 7 really good. Turner looks pretty cooked, and Matt Shaw's no great shakes either. So 8, 9, you get a little bit of a breather, but 1 through 7 is awful tough for the Cubbies. Lineup for the Royals tonight: Jonathan India will DH. I think he might be the least valuable defensive player in baseball. Nope, I'm sorry. He's tied for 3rd. Bobby Witt Jr. has been worth 12 fielding runs. Jonathan India has been worth -9 fielding runs. So there you go. He's DHing tonight. You don't have to worry about the glove. He's going to DH and lead off. Then Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Vinny Pasquantino at first, Michael Garcia at third, Salvador Perez behind the plate, and Jack Caglione in right. That's all very familiar. Nick Lofton will bat 7th and play second base. John Rave is in left field. Kyle Isbell is in center. Series, the Royals probably got to win. Get you home with a 500 record if you can win this series, and this would be a game you'd like to believe you could win. You always like to think you have an advantage in a bullpen game. Text from the 402 says Cubs are still going to sweep the Royals even if PCA doesn't play. We're one of the best franchises to operate in the history of baseball. Is that why it took 100 and how many years to win a World Series? Who has more World Series wins since the advent of flight? The Royals
I'm sorry,
are the Cubs.
that was a wild thing to send in to add to the end of that text.
I know. Objectively false. Just in every way. That part of it is objectively false. But should be. I mean, Cubs are really good. They're tied for first in the Central. They're a very good team.
Yeah,
and,
I'm not saying they're not good.
no.
I think they're a very good team.
No.
But that end of that was a little wild.
Bold statement. Bold. This claim is disputed. If it were on X, you'd have one of those. This claim is disputed. We'll take a break. We'll come back with the final word after this. Final word time here on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, lead us off.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect time for the Royals to go up to Wrigley and collect some wins, especially if Pete Crow Armstrong, one of the best players in the league, is going to be limited during the series. And also, you just mentioned it earlier, it's a bullpen game. Best time to take advantage of pitching with a team is a bullpen game, because if you can tax their bullpen, they're going to have to push their starters no matter what later in the series. It should be a good one for the Royals, and hopefully a good one for Noah Cameron tonight.
Final word for me today. I love the George Karlaftis extension for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's an appropriate length of time, signing Karlaftis through all of his 20s and keeping him with the team through 2030. I think the money is certainly appropriate, $22 million a year, given the going rate for edge rushers. That feels about correct as well. It also sets the table for what the next era of the Chiefs core is going to be. We have known this Chiefs core to be, along with Patrick Mahomes, guys like Travis Kelce and guys like Chris Jones, and certainly some other great names have been part of that long-term core. Well, the Chiefs are starting to lock in who the core is going to be for the second half of this decade. The team of the decade choosing their core for the next half decade. Obviously, Mahomes is the most important part of that. Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, George Karlaftis, and probably Trent McDuffie. His deal's next. I don't know if it gets done before the start of this season, but he will surely get a contract extension from the Chiefs as well that pays him as one of the, if not the highest paid cornerbacks in the NFL. That's your core for the next half decade. That is a core of really likable guys, really smart, cerebral guys who play with a tremendous amount of effort, guys who do things the right way on and off the field, guys who do the logo and the uniform proud. That is a core that I think Chiefs fans can be really, really excited about having because of their talents, but also really, really proud to root for the next half decade or so. That's going to do it for 580 Sports Talk today. Kinda. We got some overtime coming up. We're going to re-rack our chat with Matt Verderam as our overtime conversation of the day before we hand things off to Royals baseball at 6:30. Cubs and Royals, 7:05 first pitch tonight. And we'll be back with you tomorrow from 3 until 6 for more 580 Sports Talk. For Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero. This is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.